You're listening to the Night Demon Network. Go to nightdemon.net/subscriber to unlock more exclusive content.
Canberra.
Well, I will say that after coming off of such a high in Brisbane, the next morning kind of sucked. We shared an apartment that night it was me and Laura and Tim and Rob, and I could tell something was up with Tim, and like his voice was just a little, he wasn't, you could tell something was up. It didn't sound good, his talking voice even. And, but that happens. That happens after a show. And sometimes you just need to kind of get through the day and not talk and hydrate, maybe get a little bit more rest and see how that's going to go. So the next show, May 30th, was at a place called The Basement in Canberra.
So we had a flight. We were flying from, Brisbane to Sydney. And then we drove from Sydney to Canberra, which is about a 3-hour drive. One thing you got to realize in Australia, it's huge, and all the cities are pretty well spread apart. So there was only a couple of driving days, where we could actually drive. Like for example, this was, we fly, it's like an hour flight. We get there at, 12 in the afternoon, then we drive 3 hours to get to the club.
We flew to this show, and Anthony's dad showed up with Anthony's van and trailer, and then we drove, I think, like 4 hours to the gig from our landing spot at the airport. So it was a really long travel day.
The next morning, we left the band apartments about 8:30 and we headed to Sydney Airport. So although the next show wasn't in Sydney, it was the most convenient place to fly to. So we flew down there and we drove about 3 hours down to the next show, which was in Canberra. Canberra is actually like way smaller than some of the big cities that you'd be familiar with the names of, like Sydney and Melbourne and all that. And my folks lived in Australia back in the 70s for a year or two. So my dad explained it to me. It was because there was a huge rivalry, I think, between those major cities, which were each in different principalities. They chose Canberra as a sort of compromise to be the capital. So that's where like the government buildings and all that stuff are.
And we got to the venue kind of late. It was nightfall, and it just, things weren't looking too good. And like the venue was pretty shitty. They have kind of a nicer, bigger room, but I think something was going on. They got a new soundboard and it wasn't open. So we were in like the shitty side room, and it was just grimy as fuck. And, it just kind of added to, the jet lag, the tiredness, Tim losing his voice. Rob started to feel a little bit under the weather too. Tim just could not squawk out anything.
Both the Cirith Ungol guys fell really ill. Tim basically lost his voice. He had no voice. The night before, he sounded really good. I don't know what happened between that day and the next. The flying, I don't know if the day caught up with him that we were hung out, the night before. We kind of have a running joke that, the guy's got some weird disease, some weird sickness from the kangaroos and the koalas, because it had been brought to our attention that koalas can carry chlamydia. So we thought that it was pretty funny to say that they got some weird fucking sickness from that. But not funny, really, because at the end of the day, we decided, this venue, this show, it was the smallest show of the tour. And we decided to make the decision, basically, if there was any show that we were going to just cancel, that would be the one. Just for Cirith Ungol, though. Just at least let's give these guys an extra day of rest, and hopefully that'll help for them to get back on their feet for the next two shows, which were bigger cities like Sydney and Melbourne, which were expected to be, close to sold out, if not sold out shows.
Cirith Ungol actually had to cancel their performance that night, which is like, man, we're like one show into this run and this is already happening. It was such a bummer, but I can sympathize and I can empathize with Tim. It's tough, especially with the kind of voice that he has. You need to have that voice,
Not a lot to say about this show. A couple of members of the band were under the weather, I think from hanging out with the koala bears. We didn't even get to participate. Night Demon played that show alone.
So Rob and Tim just went to the hotel. Basically, when we got there, Night Demon did a quick line check, and there was a couple other openers that we were all playing on the same gear.
With Tim and Rob getting sick, it definitely put a dampener on this night. My job that night actually seemed pretty easy compared to what I'm usually used to. The boys played in the smaller of the venues there, and the lighting board setup was, almost non-existent. There was a couple of lights and a very, very basic board there. So yeah, I had an easy run of it. And the merch area was in the bigger space next door beside the bar. A ton of space to lay everything out and be pretty organized.
Night Demon played a longer set that night. Yeah, it was a pretty small room, man. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you could fit 60 people in there. There was maybe about 20, Yeah, it was a Thursday night, which, should have been better of a show, the turnout. But Canberra is kind of a weird town as far as, I don't know, metal and rock and roll, I guess. Not much happening there. Not a lot of bands go there. It was kind of on the way, and it was better for us to have another show than to just have a day off. So I'm pretty sure that's kind of why we ended up playing there. But all in all, I think we redeemed the show as Night Demon. We played an extra long set and gave it our all like we do.
All alone as the night takes a day, two young lovers walk to get away.
Our set was just okay. I think we were burnt out, and like I think we ended up going on kind of late. I think they pushed things back because Cirith Ungol wasn't playing, and I think at one point there was like, I don't know if people didn't know what to expect or what, but there was just this I just had this moment where the crowd was so silent. I just paused and left this awkward silence forever. And I said something like, "You are all afraid," or something like that. People probably thought it was so weird. Anyway, I was just kind of like in that headspace at that moment, just like, what is going on here? It was just such a downer of a day. And like, nobody was kind of going off to our band,
You are all so afraid. Please allow me to introduce myself.
And I think everybody that was there was pretty happy about it. You know, it was business as usual. And we did what we could, and we rocked out.
Canberra! Are you feeling good today? Are you sure? You were the most dead audience we have ever seen in the best way fucking possible. Give it up for yourselves. Let's give it up for these two guys. I haven't seen their faces all night because they've been just banging their heads. Seriously, thank you guys so much for fucking coming out. It's great, our first time in Australia to come to this city. Thank you guys so much. We really do appreciate you. Thank you. We'll see you next time for Ventura, California, Night Demon! Thanks, Canberra! We'll see you again! Maybe! Good night!
crazy dream. Wants it all before he's 17.
So we just made the best of it, and you know what? I'm always super proud of Night Demon, that it's like no matter what they come up against, they always just dig deep and are total pros about it and just make things happen and put on a show, you know. So I'm very proud of them and just in awe of them for what they do.
Hey, you know, the show was not heavily attended. Anthony had to put a thing out on Facebook and basically offer refunds, you know, like to people that, because Cirith Ungol wasn't playing, if they came to see Cirith Ungol or whatever. I think like maybe 2 people got a refund. So everybody else kind of came to support it. But I could tell they respected what was going on, and we did meet some really cool people after. And you know, it was another night for us.
So yeah, for the most part, people were pretty understanding about Cirith Ungol getting ill. It was a real bummer, you know, but yeah, most people had a good attitude about it. And Anthony gave everyone he attended like free posters, really nice, like big printed posters from the gig.
We were really bummed that we didn't get to play Canberra. I would like to apologize to everyone that came out in Canberra to see the band, that we did not play and did not get to perform for them.
So we went back to our hotel, which was very close to the venue, after the show. And Tim and Rob were in their room kind of resting up. The opening band, those guys were cool. The direct support band, they were pretty hammered, and they were kind of driving next to us and throwing stuff at the car because they knew Anthony. It was pretty hilarious. But we went in and got sleep. Not much. I did find a big-ass spider in my hotel room. I was like, oh, fuck. But we did get a little bit of sleep, not much. And I got... Okay, so going into the next day, we're supposed to be in Sydney, which was, you know, I think I get another 3-4 hour drive, something like this. No flight today, just the drive. We're supposed to play in Sydney. And I get a call from Tim, I think at like, man, I want to say like, I don't know, 6:30, 7 a.m. And he says like, come to room 131 or whatever. And so I go in there, and it's him and Rob. They were rooming together. And Tim was just like, it's not happening. I can't do it. I can't sing. Like, his voice was screwed. And Rob was really ill. And he's like, you know, thinking he almost died or something. And he was like really sad. And like, you know, those guys were basically just kind of wanting to pack it up and go home, or like, you know, basically like the band is over kind of thing. You know, I mean, that's how down they were. Now, I mean, granted, look, when everything's on the line like this and you've traveled around the world and you're jet lagged, you've got no sleep, you're feeling sick, you're feeling ill, like, you know, it takes the mind to a very dark place. Man, I can remember sometimes some tours that we did. God, the one tour that Night Demon did, that's like 20 shows in South America. I was like neurotic from lack of sleep and drinking alcohol. And I just remember having conversations with people that were just ridiculous, or even just calling like on the phone to my girlfriend at the time, and me just being a total fucking asshole. You know, I mean, so I've been in those situations, you know, and I've been acting way worse than these guys did, but still, this was not a good situation. And me and Anthony were just basically trying to talk them off the ledge, you know. And Tim did mention, you know, I mean, because at their age, like he didn't want. He's like, I don't want this to be like what happened to Mark Shelton. You know, Mark Shelton, our good friend from Manila Road, one of the greatest guys ever. You know, he passed away at a festival, at a metal festival that he was playing. He had a heart attack, but you know, I hung out with him the entire day, that day that he died, which is even more of a trip, and it's extremely sad for us. But I think, Tim was worried about his voice, but he was kind of more worried about Rob, because Rob's got some kind of incurable autoimmune disease or something. And, I don't know. I think Rob's a bit of a hypochondriac, but, he does have some legitimate health problems. And, I've said this before in my metaphysical mind, but like your mind will make you sick. Your mind will take you there, good or bad. It can make you sick and it can make you healthy. And when you're in that kind of mindset and you're thinking that you're sick, you're probably going to be sick. So, it definitely contributes to that. But yeah, it was just like, what the hell is going on? And we ended up staying at the hotel for like a couple extra hours when we probably should have been on the road. But, I was basically just trying to convince these guys, like, look, stick with it. Come on, let's just go. Let's keep the show on the road. Let's see what happens. Let's go to the next show. And, if you're not feeling better and we got to cancel again, we if we absolutely have to do that, we could do that. And at first they weren't having it. And they're basically like, look, man, we tried this thing and we're just not up to it. We're not healthy enough for this kind of lifestyle. And I was like, man, we're just getting to the beginning of this big farewell world tour where we are just going everywhere. And so many fans are looking forward to this. And these guys have been rehearsing a lot for this and always telling me, like, I'm playing the best I ever have. I'm in the best shape. I'm ready for all of this stuff. And I'm just like, man, just don't give up right now. Like, don't give up right now. One of the best pieces of advice that I ever got was, if you have something that is potentially great in the long term, don't give up in the short term when things get extremely difficult. You have to have the foresight to look at the big picture. And I know so many times in my life that I've been in those situations, and I know so many people in my life that have quit way too early when they've had some kind of adversity and realized shortly after the fact that, man, they came out of that a lot quicker than they thought, and it was too late to go back and do that without starting over. And I didn't want to see this happen. Look, it's not even for selfish reasons. Night Demon would still go on and do this tour. It was our tour to begin with. I really wanted these guys to see this thing through because I just kind of felt that I had a little bit more experience. I was a bit wiser to what was actually happening with them, because I'd been there before. Lost my voice, got super sick. But what ended up happening was I said, look, if you guys are that sick, because they were looking at like flights, like from the city we were in to like go home. And I'm just like, whoa, hold on. If you're that sick, like to even travel in a car to the next gig, then we need to go to the hospital right now. Got to take you guys to the hospital. And they didn't want to go. So I said, all right, well, the other option is you just come with us to the gig. And reluctantly, they finally agreed. And within a few hours, Rob was feeling much better.
So after Canberra, the whole thing with the guys being sick turned into sort of a little bit of a fiasco in the morning. We had to kind of convince them to pretty much carry on with the tour. They were really feeling so bad that they were ready to like go home and just cancel the shows. But there was no way we were going to let them do that. So after a little bit of positive reinforcement, and, agreeing to get them to see a doctor. Because, especially for Tim, like his voice was gone. I mean, he really lost his voice. Something that, as far as in my experience with them, has never happened before. I mean, I've seen that guy wail for 2 hours in a set, hit crazy ass notes, and then totally be fine the next day. But something really got to him. So anyway, we got everybody in the van, and the spirits kind of lifted a bit, and we were on our way to Sydney.
The morning after Canberra, we all hit the road again, and we were traveling in Anthony's car. He had like a big car, like a people carrier minivan type thing with a trailer behind it for all the gear. So it was fairly compact, like for all of us in the gear. We had the trunk filled with all our backpacks and stuff, all our personal bits. And so we're heading up the road, doing a decent speed. It was raining that day. I remember that. And so at one point, Jarvis and I were in the back row of the car. I can't quite recall what alerted me to it, but I turned around. Maybe I heard a sudden whistling or something, but the back door, it was like a lift up one, and it, like most back car doors are, it started lifting, like the catch had come undone, and I saw our bags just like we're on like motorway, like rocketing down the road, and the bags are just starting to tumble out. So I like leap over the back seat and grab the bags, and Jarvis notices a second later and he like dives over. So and actually we had coffees in our hand too. Remember we both had a coffee, so he's dived further out the back door, he's like leaning way down, grabbing a bag that's about to go on the road, and we're still driving, and he's going, take my coffee, and I'm like, fuck, like I couldn't let go of the bag that I was holding or the coffee, so
I just hear all this commotion going on behind me, like Jarvis said, holy shit. And I'm like, and I see like Laura, like I think it was Laura, like leaning over the seat, like hanging almost outside of the van, because basically the back door of this van, the latch broke or something like that, so it wasn't completely locked. So the wind caught it right, and the fucking door, you know how a minivan door opens upward. Well, it opened enough, and Jarvis's backpack literally fell out and landed on the bar of the trailer, because we had a trailer on the van, and it landed right on that like kind of A-frame kind of piece of metal that is in between the car and the trailer that attaches to the hitch, and sat there as we were driving.
But eventually I sort of think I got my elbow to pin something down, and I grabbed his coffee, and he leaned out further and got everything. So yeah, we're all kind of shouting and screaming, and poor Anthony's like, what the fuck, and had to pull off the road.
So fuck, all right, now we're like trying to figure out how the fuck we're going to deal with this to, sort of try to tie the door down so it doesn't open up anymore. It's raining outside, it's cold. Yeah, somehow Anthony found some string or something to get that thing to close and be semi-secure for us to get to the next place. So that was kind of an eventful situation.
I believe the trailer, we were concerned about that too, that it was letting in rain just because it was raining so hard. The latch going, the trailer getting wet, Tim and Rob being so ill as well. We didn't know if they were going to make it that night, to be able to perform at all. So it was a bit of a tough one. A nice silver lining on that, we stopped off for some grub at a place called Trapper's Bakery.
You know, Anthony's telling us, oh, mate, we're going to go to this amazing place that makes meat pies and whatever, you know. Meat pies are kind of like pastries, but instead of, you know, anything sweet, there's like meat inside of them, or, you know, carrots and peas, kind of like a stew thing, or it's a very English thing. So there's this famous place on the way to Sydney. So we stopped there. Really great big old place. I remember them having a really nice fireplace that we all kind of cuddled up in front of and warmed up because, you know, it was pretty cold. Yeah, so, you know, we're there. It's winter time down there, basically, when we're there, as the seasons are swapped from what we have here in North America. So we stopped there, got a little grub, you know. The Ungol guys were still kind of feeling a little down, but, you know, I convinced Rob to eat something because he's very finicky when it comes to eating anything that he doesn't know that isn't Mexican food or Italian food. He's vegetarian as well, so that sometimes is a little hard to, you know, fulfill his vegetarianism. But anyway, we got him something, and we said, hey, Anthony, you know, because we kind of parked around the corner, and, you know, it was raining. It started raining even harder. And I think we were like, hey, man, can you pull the van up, you know, close to the front door? Because it started raining harder. You know, these guys are sick and blah, blah, blah. Let's try to accommodate them. So as we go outside to get into the van, freaking straight up Crocodile Dundee comes by and starts cursing out Anthony, calling him a posh whatever, or like a Sydney cunt, as they like to use that word a lot out there. You know, basically call him a rude asshole kind of thing because he had parked in front of the, you know, kind of double parked in front of the place. But it's like, man, like, what are we doing? We're not blocking. The street was huge. We weren't blocking any traffic or anything, but it was great because this guy was total, like, typical, like, stereotypical, like a total Crocodile Dundee kind of guy. He had the hat and the jacket and the whole look, man. It was pretty amazing. So anyway, onward to Sydney.
That's it for this episode as Night Demon continues its tour through Australia. Next up, Sydney. In the subscriber section this week is full live audio of the Canberra show. Also, if you are a subscriber, you have access to all the audio, video, and images from this tour and past tours. Be sure to check out nightdemon.net to see how you can become a subscriber and gain access to all of this bonus content. Until next time, this is Nesbitt, signing off.
Are you ready for the Dawn Rider? Can you survive the horror? Dawn Rider, the witch hunt has begun for the killing of the dead. As you take the first look below, the angels begin to mourn.
Thanks for listening to the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast. Head over to nightdemon.net, click on the subscriber tab, and sign up to access exclusive weekly bonus content. If you would like to donate to support the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast, you can do so through PayPal at paypal.me/nightdemonmetal. Additionally, if you have not already done so, please subscribe, like, rate, and review the show on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts.
All hail, Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast listeners. This is Dusty Squires chiming in to tell you about my brand new signature sticks from the London Drumstick Company. I've dreamt of having my very own drumsticks ever since I was a wee lad, and LDC made that a possibility for me. Founded in 2016 in London, England, the birthplace of heavy metal, the London Drumstick Company has trailblazed a path through the music industry and taken the drummer world by storm. When I met them for the first time, they knew their product was going to withstand the beatings of a Night Demon show. They took the time to work with me on getting everything just right. The balance and weight of my sticks are the same no matter what, and the durability is bar none the best I've ever had. I know my sticks will last through the set night after night. I'm truly honored to work with a company that caters to their players the way LDC does. Their innovation and attention to detail is what separates them from the rest of the stick makers out there. Their custom stick sleeves are unbelievable and really make the entire presentation complete. Wait until you see the design they came up with for me. It blew my mind and was a surprise to say the least. They have all kinds of amazing swag, including hoodies, t-shirts, drummer shorts, drum keys, stick bags, towels, face masks, practice pads, and much, much more. Even if you're not a drummer, you can be a part of Demon history and order my brand new signature sticks direct from their website. How cool is that? And to top it off, the London Drumstick Company are giving an exclusive offer to the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast listeners. Go to londondrumsticks.co.uk and receive a 15% store-wide discount using promo code DEMONSTICKS. All capital letters, no spaces, Demon Sticks. DEMONSTICKS. I can't thank everyone there enough for the opportunity to be a part of their family and for them trusting me with their amazing products. See you metal maniacs on the road very soon. And yes, the wood chips will be flying.
Greetings, boils and ghouls. This is your comrade, the Crypt Keeper here, reporting dead from the sanctuary of the strange. Tonight's macabre myth is a fright-filled feature, one overflowing with monsters, madness, and magic.
Visit our website at monstersmadnessandmagic.com to stay up to date on all the dark dealings within the sanctuary of the strange. Enjoy the show.
Hey Metalheads, I'm Mark and I host the Metal Forge. Let me tell you about the show. The Metal Forge features the best underground metal from all over the world. We spend every week with a different artist with interviews, in-depth conversations, and most of all, the music. We also feature audience interactivity where you can submit your questions to the upcoming guests. New episodes are out every Friday at noon Eastern Time at metalforgeradio.com or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Want to know what's going on in the world of music? Then tune in to the Nothing Shocking Podcast, a non-genre based, all ages friendly rock and roll program. Join us weekly for interviews with all your favorite rock stars from the mainstream to the underground. You can find us at nothingshocking.libsyn.com or anywhere you download podcasts.
Okay, metalheads, you've been complaining that there has not been a channel that plays all of the heavy metal videos from past, present, and future for years and years at this point. Well, that time is over. Heavy Metal Television is back. HeavyMetalTelevision.net is the website. Go there. You can see videos playing 24/7, 365, all the time, all the best from the old school, the new school, and everything in between. Check it out, HeavyMetalTelevision.net. It is where the metal is.